Why Johnny Carson banned these guests from The Tonight Show? Why would the most affable man on television shut his own door on A-list names? What happened off camera that turned friendly smiles into permanent silence? One ban was official and lasted decades. A guest host who took a rival throne without a courtesy call. One feud detonated in Burbank when a Vegas king marched in hotter than the studio lights. And one neighbor show learned what a quiet blackout feels like when the warm handoff vanished overnight. Carson didn't swing hammers, he pulled levers. If you hijacked the rhythm, the couch disappeared. If you tried to crown yourself on his hour, the format didn't bend, it let you walk. And if you chipped the brand he built, the show that fed 15 million homes simply stopped saying your name. Tonight, we're opening his real ledger, the only true lifetime ban, the Vegas showdown that froze a friendship, the network Cold War you could hear in the silence, and the legend everyone swears they saw, even though no one can find the tape. If the monologue buttered the bread, behind the curtain, the knife was sharp. Ready? Let's count down who crossed the line and why the door never opened again. Number 8, Zaza Gabor, the cat, the quip, and the story that wouldn't die. Ask a room full of old-school TV fans, and someone will swear they saw it. Zaza in glitter and smiles, a fluffy cat on her lap, a line that set up the most famous naughty comeback in talk show history. The audience roared. America repeated it at lunch counters for years. There's only one problem. No one can find the air date. No control room log. No clip. The moment lives the way legends do. Too perfect to check. Too delicious to kill. So did Zaza get banned? Here's what we can say. Carson didn't like surprises that hijacked his timing. He wasn't a prop circus. Pets that sprinted, gags that spilled, stunts that chewed up beats. Those were sand in the gears of a show he ran like a Swiss watch. Zsa had a talent for chaos on camera, and a taste for getting the last word. And that cocktail never mixed well with Johnny's pencil and his patience. If you believe the myth, a single night got her exiled. If you follow the record, you see something quieter, a host who preferred guests, who helped the rhythm, and simply invited back the ones who did. The reason the cat story survives is simple. It fits the characters too perfectly. Zsa, queen of purr. Johnny, master of one-line lightning. Put those two together, and the mind fills in the missing tape. Memory does the editing. The laugh track plays itself, and a moment that likely never aired becomes the most quoted punchline people remember without proof. If myth can be louder than film, then facts have to be sharper than rumors. The next entry is all facts and all consequences. Number 7, Charles Grodin, when the bit stops being a bit. Deadpan like a razor. That was Grodin's whole charm. He'd drift into the chair, already half annoyed, knit his brows, and needle Johnny's habits. The audience sat right on the edge, wondering, is he serious? That tension was the joke. Johnny knew it. Grodin knew it. The staff knew it. Equal parts fencing match and inside wink. But a bit is a wire you walk. You start slipping when the balance stick turns into a club. There was a night when the needling came off less like dance and more like a dare. The questions got clipped. The answers got clipped back. The laugh turned nervous. Johnny's smile didn't reach the eyes, and the pencil in his hand tapped a tempo only veterans recognized. Bring this in for a landing. Did Carson slap a big red band across Grodin's name? Number. He wasn't in the public shaming business, but respect was oxygen in that room. When teasing begins to feel like contempt, when a guest uses the couch as a platform to swat the host himself, the oxygen thins. Bookings stretch. Invitations lag. By the time phones finally don't ring, no memo is needed. Everybody understands. Grodin still had chairs across late night, still showed up with that exquisite fake irritation, still needled and charmed in equal measure. What changed was Johnny's appetite for a game that stopped feeling like play. And that was the lesson people in the industry told each other in quiet. If your bit depends on shoving the host against the rail, then it only works as long as the host feels respected. Lose that, and you lose the room that made the bit famous. If a friendly feud can sour in one segment, then a real feud can slam a door for years. The next story lived in neon and sweat. Number 6. Shelley Winters, the conversation steamroller. Shelley was pure old Hollywood. Talent, stories, and hardware to prove it. On her best nights, she sparkled, witty, warm, a perfect pivot from serious to silly in one breath. But panel shows are living organisms. One guest tells a story, another guest tags it. The host steers the rhythm, the band lets air back into the room. When Shelley revved too high, she did the one thing Carson couldn't tolerate. She ate the oxygen. Viewers saw it through the safe filter of charm. The staff saw it through the metronome of timing. Johnny's pencil started a faster tattoo. The eyebrow ticked. The questions got shorter, less open-ended. He'd try to redistribute airtime, but if a guest ignored the cue, talking over, swerving into a personal anecdote the second someone else found a groove, Johnny took mental notes. He believed in conversation, not hostage situations. Was there a formal decree? Number? But repeated friction turns into memory. Memory turns into booking caution. Caution becomes, let's circle back later, which becomes never. If Winters had a night where everything clicked and the energy played with the room, she glowed. If she had the other kind of night, Johnny's mercy was mercy in motion. Keep the show moving, make sure the audience still has fun, and quietly choose different chemistry next time. That's the gentler version of a ban, a soft exile only insiders feel. And it tells you what Carson valued more than celebrity, the invisible rhythm of a good hour. If stealing the spotlight cost you grace, then mocking the house itself cost you everything. One comedian learned that the hard way. Number 5, Buddy Hackett, where the line actually was. Buddy loved the edge like a high-wire walker loves wind. He had a face that smiled even before the punchline, and a timing that dared the booth to keep up. You could feel the room lean forward. Can he say that? Will they cut away? Is the delay button enough? Good television lives in that gasping space, and Buddy rented it by the hour. But the line on tonight wasn't a mystery. Johnny prized wit over shock, craft over crudity, adult without being sloppy, saucy without losing the adults who were there for the conversation, not the bar room. Some nights, Buddy threaded that needle and brought the house down. Other nights, he kicked the needle across the floor and dared standards to chase it. The clean, dramatic version of the story says, he went too far and Johnny banned him forever. It's neat, it's easy, it's wrong. The tapes don't back that myth. Hackett turned up again. Older, still mischievous, still dangerous in that granddad way that makes people spit coffee laughing. Why? Because Johnny was not a scold. He was a defender of tone. If Buddy came to play within that tone, he was welcome. If Buddy decided the bit was funnier when the whole ship was listing, Johnny docked him. That's not hypocrisy. That's a host drawing a circle around what the show is and what it isn't, then enforcing it with nothing more dramatic than a closed calendar. There's a longer lesson for comics in that era. If your thrill depends on burning the furniture, then don't be surprised when you're asked to do your act in someone else's living room next time. If a comic could skate on the edge and still return, then a crooner who tried to rearrange the rink found out what no sounded like. Number 4, Frank Sinatra. When television refused to bow, Frank ran rooms by force of gravity. In Vegas, lights shifted when he walked in. In nightclubs, whole tables turned to face him without thinking. Bands sped up or slowed down to match his pulse. Rules bent, angles changed, doors opened. But The Tonight Show was a different ecosystem with a different sun. You could be a legend and still be a guest. And Carson guarded that balance like it was oxygen. Requests that felt routine to Sinatra elsewhere. Preferred camera side, preferred entrance, preferred list of topics. Landed here like pebbles in a gearbox. One pebble, the machine shakes it off. A handful, the machine stops. Johnny wasn't hostile to star power. He loved it. When it served the show, he understood exactly how much gravity the Rat Pack era still carried. He also understood the job description. On this hour, the host keeps the picture level. That means the dressing room stays the dressing room. The question cards stay the hosts, and the format stays the format. If a star tried to crown himself in a space built for conversation, Johnny didn't bark. He didn't point to the rule book. He simply didn't bend. And when bending became the condition for appearing, the appearance evaporated. That's not pettiness. That's boundaries. Television is a craft with 1,000 moving parts. The desk, the chair, the band, the break, the return. Bow to that, and the camera loves you. Try to command it, and the camera suddenly has somewhere else to be. If even the chairman couldn't move the furniture, imagine what happened when a Vegas king kicked the door. Number 3, Wayne Newton. The day the smiles stopped. For a long time, Wayne Newton was good television. Charming, quick, a reliable laugh when Johnny snapped a one-liner his way. There's a reason he was booked and rebooked. The audience liked him, and Johnny did too. Then the weather changed. The Aladdin Hotel saga grew teeth. Business headlines shaded into rumor. Jokes that once felt like playful ribbing started tasting personal. And Newton, whose image and empire were both on the line, stopped laughing. Accounts share the same spine. Newton arrived at NBC Burbank hot. Words were exchanged that don't sound like jokes in anyone's office. The handshake era cooled into a silence that spoke for itself. After that, his path to the couch narrowed to almost nothing. Was there a typed memo? Number? There didn't have to be. The host owned the hour. If he didn't feel safe in his own house, physically, reputationally, or simply in the quiet social contract that makes conversation possible, he withdrew the invitation. Fans still argue the details and always will. That's the nature of a clash between two kings. One of the strip, one of late night. Newton protected his name and was ready to fight for it. Carson protected a brand that tucked America into bed. When neither side flinched, the person who controlled the booking sheet decided who came through the door, and Wayne stopped coming through. It reads like a lesson every publicist whispered after. If a monologue line stings, then take the call, talk it out, bring the temperature down. Storming the fort only makes the walls higher. If a feud can end a friendship, that public, then a network neighbor could feel the chill without a word spoken on air. Number 2. Tom Snyder, the blackout you could hear. This one wasn't a guest getting the hook. This was a host controlling his block. NBC installed Tom Snyder after Tonight with promises of harmony. Different vibe, different pace, a second course after the main meal. For a while it worked. Then the friction started. Same night bookings that stepped on Carson's exclusives. Interviews elsewhere where Snyder talked too freely, at least in Johnny's view, about NBC's late night playbook. Quips that framed Tonight as stars and Tomorrow as interesting. None of it rose to the level of scandal. All of it accumulated into a feeling. You're using my halo to light your marquee. Johnny's answer wasn't a tirade. It was something TV people fear more than yelling. The cold shoulder. No cross plugs. No friendly handoffs. No appearances. The two shows coexisted like neighbors who share a fence and never wave. Viewers couldn't quote a single insult, but they could feel the absence. We're out of time never came with stay tuned. That's influence you can't fake. The audience follows the warmth. Remove it, and the next show has to paddle twice as hard. Johnny knew exactly what he was withholding. He knew how much value a kind word carried at 11:30. And he knew that if you chip his brand, he doesn't owe you his spotlight. The moral that floated through the building afterward was simple. If you're lucky enough to live in the neighborhood Tonight built, then don't slam the door as you walk past the porch. If silence can starve the show next door, then what happens when the person who built your career decides you don't exist? Number 1. Joan Rivers, the only true lifetime ban. This is the one case where the word ban carries the full weight of proof. Joan Rivers wasn't just a good guest. She was the emergency quarterback who could walk onto the field and run the whole offense. Monologue, panel, the throwaway line that dings and the closer that booms. Viewers knew her voice by the first syllable. She spoke Carson's language, and he trusted her enough to hand over his desk when he stepped away. Then a new network came calling, a different late-night show, a chance to be number 1 on a different dial. She said yes. She did it without calling him first. In most jobs, that's an awkward breakfast and a stiff handshake. In late night, in the mid-'80s, it was a break in the code. Guest hosts weren't just substitutes, they were family. Loyalty didn't live on a poster. It was a rule that kept the whole ecosystem stable. If you built your name in the house Johnny built, you gave Johnny a phone call before you moved out. He closed the door. Calls stopped. Mentions stopped. Invitations stopped. Under Jay Leno, the silence held out of respect. The industry read the message without translation. You could quarrel with Johnny about jokes. You could mess up a segment and still get another shot. You could even test the edges of taste and return when you played the game with craft. But if you took the competitor's crown without a courtesy call, the bridge burned clean. Decades later, under Jimmy Fallon, Joan returned to Tonight. It felt like resolution and history and a bit of cosmic stand-up timing. One queen of the couch tipping her hat to the monarch who made the room matter. But that didn't erase the ban. It proved how deep it ran. The door stayed closed for a generation because it wasn't about ratings. It was about code. That's the difference between a host and a steward. A host smiles at the camera. A steward protects the house. When the lights drop and the desk goes quiet, the rule still stands. Respect the room or lose the room. One true ban, a few freezes, and a stack of legends. Now you know which stories carry receipts and which survive on charm. Your turn. What Carson moment did your family swear was real? Drop it below. If we can verify it, we'll feature it in a follow-up and credit you on screen. If you grew up with that late-night glow, radio off, TV low, hit subscribe. We do this every week. Myths labeled, facts sharp, no fluff. Tap the bell so you don't miss the next one, because next time we're opening a different door. The guests who saved The Tonight Show when everything went sideways, and the one appearance that almost ended a career in a single segment. Thanks for watching, friends. If a smile built the house, truth keeps the lights on. See you in the comments and in the next episode.